Okay, so what do you want? You're going to be a lot happier with it.
I'm trying.
You have a budget?
You thought we're trying to spring out.
And we need to look at your PG also. See if your license has. Well, your license is Windows 7. If the software came with it, you're going to have to spend money to upgrade them, or buy new PCs that have no reinstalled. Yeah. So, and I can't remember. I couldn't remember. Did we have you in the? It might have. Well, sure. That's built in. That's built in. Yeah, you should be able to. Now, is that to open it? No, you should be able to say
Here. Watt. Allen. Here. Johnson.
Here. And approval of the minutes.
Move to approve. Jacobs.
Yes.
Lund.
Yes.
Watt.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Adoption of the agenda.
Move to adopt.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Lund.
Yes.
Watt.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. We have a presentation of Warrensburg and Pearl Springs Railroad.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tim Bryant. This is my brother. I'm fighting the remnants of a cold, so I might take a water break or two. Sorry, Nick. And I'm also a PowerPoint rookie, so let's, if I'm going to do this correctly, I'll move right along. I'm sure it'll be done by halftime of the Chiefs games. So anyway, as I said, Bob and Tim Bryant, we're from Warrensburg. We grew up here. We still own a bit of property here. We still care a lot about our hometown. That's why we, some years ago, devised this project to revitalize the old dummy line, streetcar line that ran in Warrensburg. Well, it started out right across the street a century ago. It's a complex undertaking, and we'll just outline it a little bit tonight. Of course, we'll take questions at the end of our presentation. Feel free, any of you, to jump in at any time. We'll try to answer them at the time. But very quickly, we are organized as Missouri Not-for-Profit Corporation. Excuse me, as the Warrensburg and Pearl Springs Railroad, and under the IRS 501c3 code, we're a tax-exempt organization. And we're here really simply to ask you to affirm the resolution of support that the council approved in 2015 and to revise it by adding a coalition for progress that we call with, as you can see on the screen, these entities, the city, the county, the university, and us. And we think this coalition is a really good thing for the project and for the community, because this would be a unified effort by these diverse constituencies. We believe will be attractive to donors and grant makers and private developers to build and operate this transportation infrastructure, which really, we'll try to explain, is an economic development project more than anything else. By the way, the university and the county, through new UCN President Roger Best and presiding Commissioner Bill Gable, already have endorsed this coalition. So we're now before you to make a similar presentation. The project is really, as I said before, to revitalize basically on the same route, the 2-mile line that ran between downtown and Fertile Springs on the gears you see there. And it was quite a story that this original streetcar line that visitors came mostly from the Midwest to the Fertile Springs resort, but it was possible to buy, New Yorkers could buy a ticket straight to Fertile Springs at Grand Central Terminal, including a ticket, the final 2-mile leg from the train station here at the Fertile Springs. And resorts like Fertile Springs were really popular in the late 19th century, before there were cars, before there was radio, and our entertainments were really the traveling speakers and traveling shows. A little bit of history that you might not know all about Warrensburg, that was settled in by a blacksmith on a hilltop less than a mile west of here, and then the city was incorporated. The railroad arrived toward the end of the Civil War, which apparently was not a big deal in Warrensburg because Union and Confederate militias would drill together. Soon the city moved down the railroad tracks, but still back to the old courthouse on top of the hill. Everybody knows about Old Drum. And then, hey, 1871, we're a college town, and you might not know that Warrensburg beat out Sedalia for the state normal teachers college. And as a consolation, Sedalia got the state fair. I'd say that Warrensburg proved to be the winner in that competition. J.H. Christopher, who was a multitasker, he already owned waterworks at Fertile Springs. And then he developed this resort in the late 19th century. And then he built this streetcar line, because he was told in 1889 that 20,000 people were going to be coming the following spring to Fertile Springs as the national convention of the Dunkers, which was a religious organization affiliated with the Church of the Brethren. So he built the streetcar, and the connections that he developed then are basically still there now. They're here now. This is an early photo of Fertile Springs before the streetcar was built. The small lake in the foreground is the upper lake that's above the parking lot that's there now next to the old spring house. In the background is Lake Sena, and in the far background is Lyons Lake. And along the lake shore of Lake Sena is where the streetcar tracks came in, right along the lake shore, and ended just to the right of where that, at the spring house, right outside the frame of that photo. Of course, here's the train station as it exists today, at least the exterior pretty much. And that was the north end of the streetcar line. And then right across the street from here, directly across the street, was the dining-room Estes Hotel. And you can see that's where the original station, downtown station, was of the streetcar. And you can see the inset, what the apartments that are there now. We believe now, Bob and I believe that now there was this connection to Fertile Springs in 1890. We believe there's a connection, that this is a great time now to make that, to reconnect downtown to Fertile Springs. And we'll explain that a little bit more in a moment. If we put this photo in just because we think it's a really cool photo from Fertile Springs, it looks more like an impressionist painting, but it really does show how busy the streetcar line was. Here's the entire railroad, and it's just really hard to imagine how popular that line was. On its busiest days, it would run 30 round trips between here and Pearl Springs, carrying nearly 8,000 passengers, which is quite a number. That was then, this is now. We propose that the new streetcar would resemble the original rolling stock, but would be built from recycled materials, and you can read on the screen here how environmentally friendly we believe this would be. And we say powered by onboard energy storage, by that basically probably battery powered. And this, by the way, this is all existing technology, pretty close to here in Columbia, Missouri. The city of Columbia operates a fleet of battery powered buses that are built by BYD Motors. We believe that in fact, we've talked with the representative of that company, that adapting that kind of battery power and motors could be redone as traction power for our small locomotive. We think that the reconnecting the downtown through the campus of Pearl Springs makes a lot of sense, that it would immediately give Warrensburg another iconic community symbol much of the way, I guess maybe not quite rivaling Old Drum, but right up there. Provide satellite parking in a couple of places to relieve traffic congestion, any parking matters that might arise. And also, it's almost always, almost all completely operating on public right-of-way. And here's a really good example of that right-of-way. This is a section of former South College Avenue through the middle of campus. You probably all recognize the pedestrian wall that's there now. And the single track line would fit well within that red brick area you see there. We also believe that, oh, excuse me, let me get just a little bit of water ready. Several stops along the way. The original streetcar went straight from across the street, stayed up to the Pearl, and went back and forth all day. But we think that making these stops would serve already popular areas. As you can see, downtown, the campus, Lions Lake, and the associated hiking trails at Cull Park, and of course at Pearl Springs, and other developments that might take place there. And of course, strengthening bonds between the university and excuse me, and other components in the city. And speaking of maybe of some future plans, this is kind of hard to see what's on this slide, but this is a grant program that's in place right now between the university and the Missouri Department of Conservation to renovate Lake Sena. And as you maybe can see, it would include floating docks, an outdoor classroom, and some other amenities. The prerequisite to draw on this grant would be dredging of the lake for provide suitable fishing habitat that the Missouri Department of Conservation would then manage. So who would use this? Well, school groups, and arriving by train, and then traveling by streetcar to Pearl Springs. When we say arriving by Amtrak, from as far away as Jeff City on the east to Kansas City, Lee Summit, Sedalia, and of course, arriving by other modes of transportation. But we see that the streetcar is an ideal way to get school groups here, and not only school groups, but I'm going to back up. I have a really good slide after that. Also, the project at Pearl Springs would enhance universities to reprogram for new conservation agents and its related biology programs. On top of everything else, this is a lot of fun to ride. And the term that's used is transportainment. And here's an example of an existing system. This is a new system. It operates on battery power in a large commercial development in suburban Los Angeles. And it's built by a company in Ida Grove, Iowa, that constructs and designs and installs these systems in several places around the country. But you can see it's similar in design to the what we envision as the rolling stock here, where there's open siding on both sides, and the passengers would step up and be seated in these open cars. Now, we're almost done. So I don't know how well you can see on your monitors, or if you have it in your packets or whatever. This is the entire route. It's just over 2 miles, and I'll leave this up as long as you want to kind of go through it. I don't know if you can see that. I know it well enough. I can point out a few things that the red block right in the middle of the image is a vacant UCM-owned parcel. We believe would be, and it's right on the streetcar line. We believe would be excellent for satellite parking on weekdays for Whiteman personnel who would be on campus to take classes on campus, and would instead of driving onto campus, would drive to that satellite parking lot, take the streetcar to class. Then on Saturdays, it could be used by tailgaters who would then ride the streetcar to the middle of campus to attend a Mules football game. And a little bit farther to the south, going towards Lions Lake and Lake Sena, there would be a stop at the shelter house there that's also adjacent to the Culp hiking trails. And then, of course, out to Fertile Springs. And engineers told us it would be possible to actually put the streetcar up that hill and stop it directly in front of the Traditions clubhouse and restaurant out there. And also, probably, we think that someplace in the Fertile Springs area would be an ideal location for the streetcar maintenance facility. That also, on top of school groups visiting Fertile Springs as far as the studying the natural world, it would be an excellent field trip location or destination for these for kids to arrive from Amtrak, and then tour the streetcar maintenance facility to learn about green transportation. But here's what we really think puts this all together. As you can see toward the top of the image, there's a yellow block that's on North College Avenue, directly across the street from the old mule barn that some of you might remember as Cassingham's hardware store. It's at North College and Railroad Street. That's what we've proposed as a site for a downtown hotel. The streetcar would loop through that hotel property and then make that very short, about a 3-minute ride to the University Conference Center. We've had a lot of talks with UCM officials about their desire to increase business at their conference center. They don't really have any place to, especially in multi-day conferences, they don't have any place to put people. And they've even resorted at times to say putting people in dorms, which they realize is not an ideal situation. So our thinking is that makes this a project that really makes it sustainable and viable, is that conferees would come by train, and we're thinking conferees by promoting this hotel and the project and the conference center, mid-sized companies in Kansas City and St. Louis that would send their employees on the train to Warrensburg for off-site meetings, and then spend an extra day still on the streetcar without cars, but they're moving around Warrensburg and spending money, and they take an extra day to play golf. They bring their clubs, and they go out to Fertile Springs, play a round or two at the Mules National Golf Club, and then hop back on the train and go back home. And well, other thing I want to point out is that if you can see toward the south end of that, or bottom of the image where the streetcar line crosses Hale Lake Road, that also makes a direct connection to the Spirit Bike Trail that runs down to Whiteman Air Force Base. And the passenger cars could easily be designed to accommodate a few bikes, and of course, while being ADA compliant as well. It'd be something, of course, we would have to take care of. But that's really basically my presentation, and we hope you'll at some point, whatever the appropriate time is, to consider revising your resolution of support for the project to add your backing to our coalition that would allow us to go out and get money. So we'll answer any questions that you might have.
So any projection on projections on what this would cost?
We have a feasibility study from a company in Kansas City called Trans Systems. And they gave us a wide range of costs from, well, we had an initial transportation consultant who said $2 million. We thought, oh, that's gotta be way low. And the transportation consultant in Kansas City said, well, it might even be as much as, depending on amenities and rolling stock and whatever, $21 million. And we had it spun the other way when we heard that number. So it seems like it's kind of come around until somebody actually really engineers a thing. We've had some preliminary engineering, but until somebody comes in, and the alignment is absolutely determined, and the whole system of matching rail and wheels and rolling stock and gradients and all that stuff, but kind of 10 million is what we've kind of pitched, but we're the first to say that we don't know exactly how much it would cost.
Has there been any maintainability study along with that?
I'm sorry?
Maintainability?
Oh, well, not so much other than the experience of other streetcar systems is that they do, of course, require maintenance, especially when track runs on its own right of way. When rail is embedded in streets, it's an elaborate construction project. It's pretty quick, but it takes a lot of work. And once that's in, the alignment's there. And of course, there's steel rails. There's always a matter of keeping the guideways clear and making sure that when there's street running rail, that there's no interference with snowplows or regular traffic or pedestrians, that streetcars exist, they coexist well with trees. And one thing that we sometimes have struggled with is trying to explain the scale of this project. It's not a heavy rail, it's not commuter rail, it's not even like a light rail that's now in Kansas City. And we don't know, it runs on a standard gauge track of the 48 inches, but we kind of come up with a term called town rail, because it's low speed. We project about 15-minute headways in the streetcar lingo. I mean, around a round trip. I mean, a trip out to Pearl Springs takes about 15 minutes. And, back and forth. It's a single track system that only one train would be operating at a time.
How much have you raised so far?
Not very much. We are 501c3. We have a couple small donations, seed money.
Why is it, just looking at feasibility of, how you fund, $10 million. Has there been any talk to, why is it necessary to build such a large project when, why couldn't we rely on private enterprise to come in and add a trolley?
Well, that's you've gotten right at really the purpose of this coalition. That probably know that transportation grants, the state of Missouri provides practically no funding for any kind of mass transit. The federal government is really cut back. I mean, there are grant programs that are extraordinarily competitive. And that's why we think this coalition is so important, that it provides this unified backing, at least in go-get-em guys from the city, the county, and the university. We can go, that Bob and I will go to private developers, private grant makers, and other donors to raise this money.
No, I'm saying like a trolley, like you see in Kansas City, like the bicycle trolleys that somebody rides a bike around, or the trolleys like you see in Herman that utilizes the current infrastructure, drives on the city streets. It just looks like a trolley.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Doing those for special events.
I mean, that's
minimal dollars.
We've talked about that, and it is minimal. And we're not quite sure really what the attraction of that would be, and not minimizing the value of those projects, but we're convinced that rails and street or its own right of way provides a permanence that people realize, oh, this is going to continue operating. We know this train will come by here, and we know we can rely on this transportation. And as I mentioned at the top, that really it's transportation infrastructure. We really see it as a real estate development project, that there's potential for residential development, maybe even some commercial development along many parts of the line, particularly right over here between the main part of downtown and campus, maybe even out of Pearl Springs, where the university at one point had talked about even kind of alumni-related housing up there.
we have an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a contract with Warrensburg Main Street Incorporated for fiscal year 19 annual services.
So as we discussed in the last council meeting, there was some directive from council to staff as far as outlining specifically events and programs that we would like Main Street to support and do in exchange for the funding provided in the contract. Those have been included. I apologize, the contract was not included in the packet. We have provided a hard copy to each of you, and we'll get the packet updated this week on the website, probably tomorrow. That's included in there. But anyway, it's been reviewed by the city attorney, it's been reviewed by Main Street. I think everyone is good with it, and so staff would recommend approval at this time.
Revisions look good. Move to pass that ordinance in second reading by title.
Jacob,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
This is an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a contract with Warrensburg Main Street Incorporated for fiscal year 19 annual services. This is for adoption or rejection. Jacobs,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Okay, next we have an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Local 3923 of the International Association of Firefighters.
So believe it or not, it's been a couple of years since we discussed this last. So we have spent the last couple of months in negotiations with the union. And it's come to an agreement of terms. This has also been approved by the union at their most recent meeting. And so staff would recommend approval of this as well. There weren't any real significant changes in this. We did have some update as far as skill requirements, training requirements, etc. for some different positions within the department. Chief Kushner did ask for some leniency from the union regarding the ability to use our cadet program to provide some staffing in situations where staffing is not available and some of our part-time, well, mainly when our part-time not available. We've had some struggles finding and keeping part-time employees here recently. And so we had some discussion on that. That's outlined and defined in the agreement as well. Those are the only key differences that I can recall. Of course, there were some things that we asked for that they didn't agree to, and some things that they asked for that we didn't agree to as well, but those obviously aren't included in the agreement at this time. But there wasn't anything significant that we asked for that wasn't agreed to cause the town's recommendation to deny this contract at this time. So unless Chief Kushner has anything to add, I would recommend for approval of the contract.
Move to pass second reading by title.
Jacobs,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
This is an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Local 3923 of the International Association of Firefighters. This is for adoption or rejection. Jacobs,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. We have an ordinance accepting the project for maintenance, acceptance of the final change order number 3, and the authorization to make final payment to Mega Industries Corporation for the downtown revitalization project, Phase 4, STP 6300407 in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri.
Madam Mayor, member of City Council, this is following up the project. It was completed and approved, has MoDOT approval on that. This portion of this project paid for with MoDOT funding. Project had some cost overruns and underruns, which brought the final cost to $576,714.92. All said and done, we believe we have a good project. Mega Industries was a very qualified contractor on the project, and council was asked to follow through. Staff would ask to follow through.
And also say we have heard some concern regarding the bike lane, if it's affected parking by a business affected by this. Also, we've gone and lost one of the things we needed that business last week. We were committed to have a traffic engineer look at the design and see if there's any options available. And we will organize a meeting with that business and the traffic engineer here soon. But even if we were to make any changes on that, the contractor performed their duties as we had designed and as we told them. And so we would still recommend that this be approved, and we'll talk about that again soon.
Yes, I don't move the second reading by title.
Jacobs,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
This is an ordinance accepting the project for maintenance acceptance of the final change order number 3 and the authorization to make final payment to Mega Industries Corporation for the Downtown Revitalization Project Phase 4, STP 6300-407 in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Jacobs,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes. Next, we have an ordinance accepting the Veterans Road Extension Project Phase 1 for maintenance by the city of Warrensburg, Missouri.
Madam Mayor, members of the city council, this is, final completion and acceptance for the phase 1, portion of Veterans Road. Project had a cost total around $51,539 related to, 4 subsoils that had to be, replaced and recompacted, and some additional concrete work that was added into the project to allow for farmers adjacent to the property to be able to access their ground. Staff would ask approval of the project as
I'd also say this is project 3 of 4 now, because the orders approved with the bond issue, I believe now completed. Those being Veterans Road Phase 2, and Veterans Road Phase 1. The pumper truck and ladder truck have been purchased and delivered and are in the fire stations now. And then the final project is the traffic signal upgrade, which is currently under construction, and we expect hopefully completion by March or so of next year. So we're delivering on what the community entrusted with us, and so far we've been able to keep everything in budget and delivering on that quickly and putting it to work.
I think that's important, and commendations to staff for bringing that all together. I do appreciate it.
I'm going to say Bill, if you pass the second reading by title.
Jacobs,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
This is an ordinance accepting the Veterans Road Extension Project Phase 1 for maintenance by the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Jacobs,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes. We have an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Article 2 of the City Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding building inspection fees.
At your September council meeting, you discussed adopting re-inspection fees for failed building permits and what that could look like. Staff has provided this ordinance which would allow in Chapter 6 the charging for such a fee. It gives us the authority to charge a fee. And then later on your agenda is a resolution where we would actually set those fees. We are recommending, as discussed that evening, where the fee would be first re-inspection, so the second time to look at the same work. That would be no fee, no additional fee. The third time we come out to look at the same work. So that's the second re-inspection, is the first time we would charge an additional fee. That would start at $100 and then step up. For the next one, $200, the next one, now that's 4 re-inspections, $200, and for the 5th re-inspection, so the 6th time we come to look at the same work, $500. Those would be paid before we would allow you to schedule the inspection. So this ordinance gives us the authority to do that. The resolution later in the agenda would actually set the fees. That would make it easier to just change them in the future if you wanted to raise or lower them.
I would like to say for the record, this isn't an effort by staff to try and increase revenues. What we're trying to do is increase the efficiency of staff time, of having hopefully the contractors do their job correctly as quickly as possible, so we're not out there constantly doing re-inspection. So this is more of a deterrent effort than it is trying to generate revenues for the city for operations.
And I think also for the record, it was pointed out during the September meeting that we're dealing with probably a handful or less or fewer rather of contractors that habitually require the staff to come back and come back and come back.
Yeah, it's a small population.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to fail
Sure.
for something you weren't aware of, or something came up, you weren't ready, what have you. And now, if you canceled in advance, that would, if you weren't ready to cancel, that's not considered, we wouldn't charge for that, but, so there's no penalty for the innocent mistake, it's the habitual,
Right.
fail to comply.
And after the first failed compliance, they're given a list of deficiencies, exactly telling them what to fix. So
Yes.
there's no
They're aware of
confusion
what
if
they
they
need to
make
correct in
concerted
order.
effort.
And when they go back for the re-inspect, that is the template that's used.
That's what we look at, yes. And when those are very close to each other, then that's all we need to look
Right.
at. But if a year has passed,
Well, yeah, that's a different story.
then other things have gone wrong in the interim.
Right.
And now we all have to mobilize all four areas, fire, public works, building, planning, and come out and look. Did the trees that were okay 6 months ago die? Now I need to replace one. So, the longer it takes, if you get into that fifth phase, then yet we may be looking at things that were not on that original list. And if we could shorten that window, we can keep that list tight.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So you'll have this, which changes the ordinance that puts it on the book, and then later on the agenda, you'll have a resolution which sets the actual fees for that. So you'll have two items on the agenda today.
So we move this to second reading.
Yeah.
By title.
Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
This is an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Article 2 of the Code of City Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding building inspection fees. This is for adoption or rejection. Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes. Okay, we have an ordinance changing the name of a portion of Cooper Boulevard to Thompson Street in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri.
Okay, I'm gonna speak on this one, and then Jim and Slim are gonna help me answer questions. Right now, the street in front of Walmart, between Walmart and Pizza Hut, is Cooper Boulevard, and as you go east on that, then you come to a hard left, and you go north up to the roundabout. From the hard left, up north to the roundabout, that section is also called Cooper Boulevard. If you look at the street signs in the field, and the plat of Hawthorne Development. We are at a point now where soon we will, within the next year, have a property there that needs an address, and that's going to be confusing to have an east-west portion and a north-south portion, and staff would like to rename the north-south portion before any addresses or utility accounts or anything are established with that new address. And so we're recommending the attached ordinance. There is a map. If you're confused, there's a map in the packet that shows which portion we're proposing to rename as Thompson Street. Thompson was chosen because this is in the area that the Hawthorne TDD covers, and that development agreement contemplated another street within the project that would be named Thompson. Not exactly where this one is, but they did use that name, and so to honor that, we used it for this as well.
So that won't do anything if we did hypothetically, hopefully get a street that goes straight through. Will that be a different name?
No, if the street goes straight through,
Cooper.
it'll stay Cooper, because it's still east-west. It's all in line, one street going east. This would allow us to continue on with the name Cooper.
So you're on Cooper and then you're gonna take that hard left and that's what you want Thompson.
Yes, the hard left is Thompson.
That is exactly staff's concern, is if we ever put that street all the way through to Hawthorne Boulevard, if Cooper stayed turning and going north-south, we wouldn't be able to call that Cooper anymore, and then it would get confusing because you feel like you're staying on the same road, but you just changed streets, and so.
There could be a stop sign there eventually sometime.
There could be, and who knows when that'll happen, it could be in 5 years, it could be in 30 years, we don't know when that'll go through, or when it'll be a priority to put through, but with this project coming now, where we're gonna need to start assigning addressing to it, we felt it would be easier and simpler to change that now than it would be to do that later.
This is written so it would not go into effect until, the end of January. We've ordered signs, but we need about a 2-month lead time to get the signs in and installed, and we wanted to be able to install them for dispatching purposes immediately after it went effective.
I think this reminds me of Best Drive and Bluebird, because I'm kind of on Bluebird and all of a sudden then I go to Best Drive. Remember that? You know, when you're taking a stride and right in the middle of the road, it quit from Best to Bluebird or something like that.
You're on Broad and then you go to Best, right at Bluebird. Yeah, and so there is a change. You're avoiding a situation like that.
And of course, the street name is just what we took off the plat, that was originally there, you can put whatever you want in there. You can call it whatever you want. It's not like recommended Jayhawk Boulevard, but.
You know, you want less Miles Boulevard too.
Pretty good week.
I would say it'll be passed the same way by title.
Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
This is an ordinance changing the name of a portion of Cooper Boulevard to Thompson Street in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes. We have an ordinance amending section 2-394 regarding term length and 2-396 regarding board size of the Code of Ordinances in the city of Warrensburg.
You want to do it, or do you want me to?
This is just a housekeeping item to make sure that these provisions in chapter 2 of the code conflict with some more recent activities that have some different size boards. There was some movement in the 90s with term limits and board form that imposed some of these restrictions that don't necessarily work for some of the different board sizes and board terms that have been established. You've had several boards that have approached you regarding their size and current term lengths, and so this would allow some more flexibility to just be determined on a case-by-case basis.
Move to pass that ordinance to second reading by title.
Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
This is an ordinance amending sections 2-394 regarding term length and 2-396 regarding board size of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Warrensburg. This is for adoption or rejection. Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes. Next, we're going to discuss lodging tax recommendation from WCBB.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. At the August joint meeting with the Council and WCBB, increasing the lodging tax was discussed. This is a discussion that was held in 2017 as well. At that time, staff was directed to research what was needed to place the issue on the April 2019 general municipal election. Done that, that was provided at the September council meeting. We know that we need to finalize it with the county clerk and election authority the last Tuesday in January by 5 p.m. At that time, we also understood the importance of the WCBB having a strategic plan. We have had, I'm excited to report, we've had 2 great sessions with Key Solutions directing us. The final session will be December 4th. We hope to have a strategic plan in order for the board to approve for implementation at the January WCBB meeting. At the meeting last Thursday, November 15th, the board did approve a recommendation be brought to council to proceed with placing the increase of the lodging tax from 2.5% to 5% on the April 2019 general municipal election. At this time, legal counsel and city staff need your direction to be able to process those needed documents, including the ballot language.
Just for clarity, it's January 22nd is the final deadline for submission, not the last Tuesday, which would be the 29th.
Okay.
Don't miss that by a week.
Okay, I'm glad you said something, because that's what we had from Diane Thompson, so,
I
thank
just
you.
pulled that off the Secretary
Yeah,
of State's
thank you.
website.
It's really, I think, important to note that 2.5%, the current rate, is the lowest in the state.
Right now, I was able to find one other municipality that had 2%.
2%.
But 2%, but they also receive funding from other sources as well.
Okay.
So yes, we are, right there.
If we're not the lowest, we are certainly
Yes,
among the lowest.
yes.
So
you're
without
exactly
going to
right.
5%, is that kind of the standard what you found?
That is, yes, it is basically, it is the standard. We did research other municipalities. We found from St. Genevieve at 2% and us at 2.5. From up there from 4% on up to 7% in Jefferson City. But the state statute that we fall under allows us to go to 5%.
But you see, noted this not being a deterrent to anything that you're trying to accomplish through visitation or anything. Increasing this rate shouldn't be a deterrent.
No, we believe that the strategic plan that the board is developing and will basically build our message to the voters. We looked at the numbers. If you look at an average $100 per night, with their sales tax and with their lodging tax, you would pay a quarter more, 25 cents more if you stayed here in Warrensburg than you would in Sedalia.
Okay.
I don't know individuals that would drive that far to save a quarter. But we know that last year our lodging tax came in at $156,000. This will allow us to have that funding needed for us to grow where we want to go, have an actual marketing plan, allow us to do some of the things that we want to do. Of course, the plan has not been finalized, it has not been implemented, but one of the issues that has been is having a separate visitor center and allowing us to fund that. Those are not expenses that we incur now. The city has been overly accommodating to us, allowing us to be in the location that we are now. But we know that to grow and to be where we want to be, we need a separate location. With that becomes utility bills and those kind of things that we don't have right now.
What's the directive that you need from council? Do we need a vote or just a general consensus?
Probably need a vote. We just need direction, make sure that we're comfortable with us spending staff time and resources. I would recommend that we have the city attorney help us prepare the ballot language and make sure it's legal. We weren't comfortable incurring that cost on behalf of WCBB unless the council didn't want us to do that.
I see in the letter that WCBB is paying for the initiative to be placed on the ballot. Is that correct?
We will incur that cost. Right now it's approximately, from Diane Thompson, it was $2,100. The reason we discussed April is because it will be lower for us because the city will already have the council member on the ballot.
Right. Okay.
I think it's something we've been talking to WCB for a while about getting that increase, so I think it's appropriate we proceed.
Definitely.
So we'll work on getting that prepared. WCB's board will review that ballot language and approve that, and bring that to you early January, probably.
First January. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a resolution from the City Council of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, establishing re-inspection fees for failed building inspections.
And your resolution in your packet is correct. I misspoke earlier reading an older version of it. The maximum fee tops out at $250, not the $500 I stated earlier. So it does step up from $100 to $250. That reflects our actual costs in conducting the inspection. And at $250, as this is bound by the Hancock money as well.
This looks better. I was a little bit concerned that we were definitely on the high end of.
Yeah, no, that was an older. Those were the dollar amounts staff put in a presentation in September, but they've stepped back down to this.
You just need
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes. Okay, we have a request for money for the Christmas store from the Stevenson Fund.
We had our annual request, for $600 from the Stevenson Fund, and they would like it for the Christmas store. Last year, they said they were able to provide holiday meals for 440 families for a total of 1,153 people, and it just seems to grow every year. So I think it's money. Yeah. Thank you. Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes. Next, we have information regarding automatic electronic defibrillator bid process.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, we are bringing this to you as an informational item for discussion as well, if you have some. Our policy is to bring things to you when we are not accepting the lowest bid. In this case, the lowest bid for our AEDs was from heartsmart.com. We got 3 bids. The highest was from Merrily. They were at about $13.35 a unit. The American Red Cross came in about $11.89 per unit. Heartsmart.com was $11.35 per unit. We are asking or proposing to take the second bid from the American Red Cross. They are offering 2 free wall cabinets and an adapter kit to allow us to download data from the AED. Additionally, they're located in Kansas City, so if we need service or training, they're very accessible. The company with the lowest bid is an internet-only company, and so we are not likely to get any service. They're located in the Northeast. Essentially what they do is buy AEDs by the tractor trailer load and then sell them out at a lower price. The difference in the 2 bids is about $900, so it's not a whole lot. All of the money was donated to us from our generous community, and we'll be finishing off what we need from the Rotary Club is going to finish off our campaign. So we're super excited about it. We're very thankful to our community for coming up with the nearly $15,000 to replace our AEDs. And we know from about 6 months ago, we had a young man in here whose life was saved because of an AED. So they're very vital. They'll be in all the police cars. There will be one upstairs in the police station and also down in our detention area, with 2 areas where we didn't have one before. So happy to answer any questions you have or anything related to that.
Have you got them all in cars now, or is that?
They're all in cars now. They're about 10 years old, and so they're just in need of replacement. And so that's what got us started on the campaign. You know, budgets are always tight, and we knew that this community was generous, and we thought we'd see what we could get. And if we get a few replaced, and they've actually surprised us. It's been really, really great. We've had a number of businesses who have paid for a whole unit, and what we're planning to do is when we get all of them in, we're going to have an AED party. We're not going to shock each other, but we're going to have the traditional police meal of donuts and coffee for all of our people who contributed. And then we're going to have a plaque that's going to go on each AED for someone who paid for a full AED, recognizing them, and they'll get to see their AED, and they'll be deployed that way. We had a number of groups who got together, community groups, and organized smaller donations, and so, you know, like 5 or 6 people got together and bought one. So we'll just recognize them as well as their for their contribution too.
Are the ones that are currently in the cars, they will be cycled out, is that?
We'll send those back to the manufacturer. They refurbish them and then send them out to sell them as remanufactured units.
Okay, okay.
Those are the ones that can be.
Yeah.
We've got a couple that are shot, so they can't really ride around in cars. They aren't exactly best place for something yet. Any other questions?
Great fundraising and PR push on this. I saw
Yeah.
that everywhere.
It was really good. It took off like wildfire, and we really, like I say, we really, you know, when you have close to 13,000 Facebook followers, you can really get a lot of stuff done. So it was really neat to watch. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Jacobs,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, we have the KCP&L solar rebate application update.
Joe, you wanna lead that one?
So we've been in contact with KCP&L and MC Power both. We submitted, I think it was 2 months ago, an application for a rebate for a solar project through KCP&L, and we were approved for 2 projects, both of which are sewer facilities. We have had some questions on that, and what is needed for us moving forward is to submit an application. It's called a interconnection agreement, or it's a net metering application, and it must be submitted within 90 days of receiving funding. So they've indicated that our date to submit the application is January 13th. So we need direction on if we're going to submit this by that time, and what else will we do?
So a couple of things to add to that. There were 2 applications submitted. We thought they were both going to be wastewater treatment facilities, but when we got the applications back that were submitted on our behalf by MC Power, one was for the West Treatment Plant, the other one was actually for the community center, which is the Parks Department, not the city of Warrensburg. So surprise, Daniel, there's some potential rebate out there for a solar project if you want it out at the community center. When I talked to MC Power about that, they did state that that was inadvertent and that another application could be submitted for the other wastewater treatment plant if we so chose. I think what I heard was there was still about $900,000 as of last week that was still available in rebate. One of the challenges is that the rebate's been there for several years, actually, from what I understood. And actually, at one point, it was about $2.50 per kilowatt. And we're in a phase-out period of that, where now we're eligible for 50 cents per kilowatt. And that's good through June of next year. So if we hustle and get a project built, we can get 50 cents per kilowatt hour rebated back to us. After June, that gets cut in half and goes down to 25 cents per kilowatt hour, and that goes through, I think, 2023. that those rebates are available. And so, but staff wanted to know some direction of how important is it that we get that 50-cent rebate versus the 25 cent, because we need some time to go through the RFP process. There's a financing component to it, where there's going to need to be a RFP process for the financing component as well. So we actually have 2 processes we need to go through. And to do all that and then engineer it and design it and build it all before June, we've got to be moving on it pretty quick, and it's going to be tight. And so we wanted to make sure that this project is a priority. I'd also remind council this was not subject to discussion through our budget process. So we have not budgeted any money. We have not included it in our budget at this point in this time. We don't even know what the cost is going to be, let alone even the feasibility as far as location. I think staff has some doubts whether or not we even have a location out at the West Treatment Plant or the East Treatment Plant to even put this on. So there's a lot of things up in the air. So there's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of decision, there's a lot of engineering that needs to be done. So we need to know how much of a priority this is to council if you're wanting us to push and try and get all this done before June and get that 50 cents per kilowatt, or whether this isn't as much of a priority and we have time, and if the 25 cents per kilowatt is enough, we have until 2023 really to take our time and get this done. We do have the agreement was submitted to the city attorney today for his review. From what I briefly looked over it, and we have to read it to see commitments and those types of things, but it would be a pretty simple process. We brought that to you back at the December meeting so we can meet that 90-day time frame. But that's still not going to help us with that deadline in June of 2019 if you want us to push to get that rebate.
My 2 questions, Greg.
Go ahead.
No, you let me go last time you go.
Well, this grew out of the Energy and Sustainability Task Force, is what this initiative grew out of. And while I, for one, certainly believe that sustainable energy is definitely the way to go, I am really concerned on this particular project that we don't jump in the deep end without knowing what kind of sharks are there. And we could very easily do that unless we allow the staff to do their due diligence, easy for me to say here. And we'll look at the site, the floodplains and everything else that would play with it. I guess I would recommend, as much as it pains me to pump the brakes on this a little bit, then make sure that the staff has a chance to do the staff work that's necessary to make sure we're getting quality product in the end. That would be my input.
Mine was gonna be, I would like to, as a council member, find out what it's gonna cost possibly for this to happen and what the 50 cents of what you could make if we hurried it along. I don't know what kind of money we're talking. I know 50 cents kilowatt doesn't mean a lot to me, but if you're looking at it substantial enough to make it worth your while or not. I mean, that would be a question that I would have to ask. Is, I understand staff time is very valuable and they have other things to do, but if you bidded it out and all that, what's that initially gonna cost the city? And then if we don't get it, then we have that cost. We're gonna try to find money. We would have to if we did. Not that I don't agree with you, but I thought, a couple of questions there of how much money are we thinking that we could get.
Well, again, at this time, we don't know what the cost is gonna be.
Right.
So that's gonna depend on location. I mean, West Treatment Plant, the only place we could put it possibly maybe in a floodplain area.
Right.
Because in order to do, you're gonna have to raise it up higher to get it up out of the floodplain, which is gonna increase costs. And so there's some challenges to it that we just don't know the answer to at this point.
Yeah, and getting those answers in the time frame that's left.
But really, the only way we'd be able to do it is you have to step outside the policies the council has set for staff on how you want us to handle these things. Which you have the authority to do. You can tell us, do what it takes to get it done, and we're not gonna go through the formal RFP process, and you can do that. But those are put in as protections to make sure that we do it the right way, we make an informed decision, and we know what that impact is gonna be to the taxpayers before we do that.
So we got awarded this in November with you gotta present an entire package by January the 11th. Am I understanding that correct?
We have to enter into the agreement.
We have to say that we want the rebate.
Right.
And then we gotta figure out how to get them with staff time and.
So by January 11th, we have to say we want the agreement, and by June, we have to present them.
And I'm only one councilor, I was just asking that.
No, to put deadlines in, as we all know, you write half of that November off and half of December off, because no one really works in November, December.
Maybe not you, but.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as meeting the 90-day time frame, as long as the city attorney reviews and believes the agreement, there's a decent agreement that he doesn't have any qualms with the city entering into that with KCP&L. That should be fairly simple to do, and then we have the design period, construction period. The timeline that really matters, though, is that change of the rebate in June of 2019, because that basically, in effect, doubles your break-even point, right? So if you have a project that pays for itself in 10 years at 50 cents per kilowatt, that's going to take 20 years to meet that with the 25 cents per kilowatt. And so that's what changes that a little bit, which is why we wanted to bring it to council of, do you want to make this a priority for staff?
How long do RFPs normally sit out there?
Probably at least 6 weeks at a minimum. Because you have to give the person time to read it, prepare it, and submit to you an actual decent bid to be able to do that.
And this would be an RFP, not an RFQ first,
We could do either.
doing the combo. as well.
So in RFQ process, you're looking for the qualifications of the person, and so you kind of lose control of the cost
Right.
side of it.
Right.
Whereas if you do an RFP, you've kind of outlined in basic the services you're going to provide, and they're giving you a cost to do that, but you're not necessarily going with the most qualified company
Right.
to help you do that. But we could use either one that you would like, but they're both going to take probably about the same amount of time and process to do that.
At this point, knowing that we're close to seeing a projected, a basic proposal from MC Power, laying out what ballpark figures of the project like this would cost, along with how much offset do the rebates make that. I think having you and maybe Joe and Bob and I are happy to help if you need, to take a look at those to see if it even makes basic feasible sense, dollars and cents wise, that it's to our benefit to do that. We know it's great for the environment. We want to also make sure that it makes economic sense, and so having 1 or 2 meetings to look at that, maybe get together with MC Power to clarify what exactly is included in that and then what the concerns might be. And then I did get confirmation from Mark Dawson, KCP&L today, that they will be attending the next Energy and Sustainability Task Force on December 6th. And I kind of let him know that we're at that point. We want to kind of get all parties in the room and talk about concerns, talk about what the future looks like from the rebate perspective on the small corporate side as well as the large community side, and just to kind of understand what the options are moving forward before we make any decisions. But I think having the basic, does this make financial sense, ahead of time before we go into that meeting is important. And I think we can clarify everything with everybody in the room and still have a chance to enact those rebates if we choose. But again, there's no strings attached to that. It's not required, but I think that would be the best way to analyze the situation and take direction from after that meeting with the Energy and Sustainability Task Force, where everyone will be present. After that, I believe our December meeting is after that, and so we could have some direction from council at that time.
But if we hold off that long, you guys, if they have the ability to get done what needs to be done.
There's a chance, but it would be,
You're talking,
it would be tight too.
Well, even if we didn't know a
Moving
solid.
forward until we have organized that.
oh yeah, I want to see some more numbers before I commit to this, but
Well, I don't even know when that goes in, if we are going after the 25 cents and allow more time, then what are we gonna gain for that and how much it costs type thing too, even if we don't make the 50 cent, what I mean?
Well, like you're explaining that, on the surface, it extends the payback window for the project, by double. So,
I think we've all had our deadlines before, I know it would be tough, but let's see if it's doable, if not.
And whenever you're in discussions with MC Power and they present the 50-cent rebates, if it looks really attractive, you might ask, I think with minimal effort on their part, they could probably present a proposal that they could bring to the meeting in December that shows what it would look like at 25 cents, so we can see in black and white what the gain is if we try to push it through on some tight deadlines, or if we pump the brakes and take our time, we can leisurely move forward, and what would that mean financially to the city? And then at the meeting, Steve Granger, District Manager with KCP&L, and Drew Robinson, their renewables program person, along with Mark Dawson, will be in attendance. There'll be 3, not just 2, as we planned this last meeting, but some time off came up and they were not able to attend, and did apologize.
And I think MC Power will also be represented.
Yeah, Mark.
So we'll have all the players in one room.
I just want to make sure that we have a chance for staff to take a look and put some professional eyes on the ballpark feasibility.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Kind of.
I guess, I mean,
Did you want a yes or a no?
He's just like, "Ooh."
Yeah.
We have more homework to do. We'll work
Well,
on
is
that.
it, so we find out, okay, this is a really great thing, but is it, you know,
Worth the
the
effort.
numbers might be really great, but is it worth jamming something together to, we put something out there in June, and that, I mean,
I agree.
And we'll know that.
At this point, this is basic stuff
Yep.
that every business that goes through this process looks at. I've done it myself at our business, and, you know, we're talking a couple meetings and maybe an hour, looking at the scope of a project. It's not gonna be in the weeds too much at this point. Should we decide to take that next step, that's when it gets complicated. But I think gathering the basic information to bring to the next meeting is not that big a deal. And if you need help, I'm happy to step in. But after that, it's going to get a little more tricky, and that's when the engineers get involved, and we need to decide if we want to go down that road. So that's what we'll be, I think, investigating in the short term.
That's a great plan.
Okay, next we have the wellness contract with UCM.
This was a project I've been working on for a couple years, probably now. I'm trying to implement an employee wellness program for all of our staff and dependents. Basically what this is an effort to provide another access point for city employees to exercise and have access to some programs as they choose. So what we're looking at doing is, we've also been talking with Blue Cross Blue Shield. We've been talking with our third-party administrator, McInnes Group, that helps us look at the finances of our health plans and those types of things. And talking about implementing a wellness program to encourage our employees to be healthy and hopefully help drive down claims costs and histories and those types of things, and all translate into lower costs of providing health benefits to our employees. In order to do that, there needs to be some regular assessments done if our employees choose to participate. And what the assessments do is it helps them know kind of what their body's doing and help them have some conversations of how they can help live a healthier lifestyle to help improve some of that situation. And also have access to classes. So our goal is to basically provide access to employees at multiple locations. So this contract would basically allow employees and spouses to have access to the UCM Rec Center, have access to their classes, and UCM will help participate in doing the assessments. We've also been talking with Danielle over at the Parks Department. So obviously employees currently have passes to have them to the community center, and that would continue. And basically what we want to do is provide, in order for an employee wellness program to be successful, we need to get rid of as many barriers as possible so the employees participate. And so we want to provide options for them that if their social circles or they're more comfortable working out at the UCM Rec Center as opposed to our Rec Center, that they would have access to that, or they can go to the Rec Center of the Parks Department and do that as well. And both will have classes, both will be able to help provide assistance to the city as far as coming up with like nutrition classes and cooking classes, or participating in exercise classes and those types of things. The Parks Department recently changed to allow city employees to have access to those classes. Those are part of their pass now. But UCM would provide another access point and some more space for recreational activity, et cetera, as well as some support. So anyway, this is the contract that's been negotiated with UCM. It's capped at no more than $20,000 a year. And again, that provides help with the assessments, classes, help us design our employee wellness program. And we're doing that in conjunction with the park staff, and as well as Blue Cross Blue Shield, etc. So this $20,000 would be paid for out of our, basically we have money we've been setting aside to help with our health insurance costs and those types of things. These would be paid out of that. We've also been talking about providing staff with, if they would like to have them, either a Fitbit or a Garmin that helps them measure how many steps a day they're doing, their heart rate, all those types of things, as an incentive to help them in participating in the employee wellness program, et cetera. And we're trying to put a lot of that together. But one of the pieces we need in place is a contract with UCM that we do have access to their facilities and their staff resources to help us make this program successful.
So the spouses, I see that one in B, spouses $10 membership of what the city employee gets for free, the city's paying for it, then the spouse would pay $10 for the month to the same thing?
Right now, the $20,000 cap would be for employees only. And then staff still needs to discuss whether or not the city would pick up the fee for the spouse as well. But that would be in addition to, as is outlined in the contract. I mean, the goal here is to get as many healthy lives on the plan as possible. The more healthy lives you have, the more those claims are spread out over, which drives down your costs. So we want the dependents to be on our health insurance, especially all the healthy ones, because it helps you provide a better service. And so it provides another access point, and we have the rec center right now that helps provide some of that, or a lot of that. But not everybody wants to work out at the rec center, and so this provides another access point. And another key piece here is I think that we need the experience from the staff at UCM, because UCM has basically been doing this program for the school district for the last few years. And so this is a program they've already done and kind of worked the kinks out. And I would like for us to benefit from that experience so that we can get this as successful as possible out of the gate. Because if we put a bad product out there at the beginning, staff will get frustrated with it and it won't work effectively.
So Matthew, this 2018 is in the budget that this money will be allocated, or is this next year's?
No, we will have to do an amendment to allocate the funds.
So we budgeted some this year.
We budgeted some, but the total 20 was not there. I think we had 10 in.
And it may, in talking with Beth at our most recent meeting, she thinks that number may actually go down, that we won't need the full 20,000. So again, I said it's a cap of 20,000. It won't be any more than that. And we're actually talking about potential less than that, where they may be able to provide some personal trainer time in addition with that $20,000 number.
What's our current number of employees?
140 full-time?
133.
133 full-time employees currently. I did have conversations with the hospital, and of course they had some turnover shortly after that, but some of the things they're working with and trying to do right now, it's just hard for them to dedicate staff time to help us do this at this time.
AC, you get what per person?
$12.50, and that's it. Everyone, which is a bargain, especially having access to classes and a lot of the extra amenities. And they have you get a fob usually that they can track every time you move through, and so they can easily measure how much they're using it, and are we seeing the results that we're.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to do that so we don't violate any HIPAA laws or anything like that. And,
The school has a sign-up sheet, I think you do, and you do it 3 times a week.
so we may be developing a form that the employee will have to fill out and then go, and then either the Parks Department or UCM will sign off on that data and provide it back to us so that we make sure that not that we don't trust our employees, but when they bring that back to us, that there's verification that has in fact occurred. Because we'll have incentives tied to this to help incentivize them to participate. And in my opinion, anything we can do to help be preventative in this saves a lot of money when it comes to healthcare costs, prescription costs, and all those types of things. So If we can catch a potential heart attack early before that happens, that saves us a lot of money. Also, if you have an employee who has diabetes, well, they can exercise more regularly or learn to eat healthier and read the nutrition labels. They can manage that without prescriptions, as that costs money, which then costs the plan money and costs all our employees and us money to be able to do that. So that's the whole goal and objective of all of this, is to help lower those thresholds and those hurdles so our employees can participate. They're incentivized to do that, because if it works right, the cost of the incentive will be much cheaper than paying the claims and the prescriptions in the long run.
In addition to the happy, healthy employees.
Correct, which are more productive and more efficient for us. Yeah.
Every direction. You need an official vote?
Yeah, we'll need a motion to authorize me to,
I move to authorize, said, Bill?
Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes. We have appearances for the council not listed on the agenda. You run marathons, I feel like it's never room to do nothing. Okay. We have Lindsay Chapin, did I say that right? She's not here to hear me butcher it. And Jason Sybil? Okay,
Those were people from GRA.
got it. Oh, yes, okay. All right. Miscellaneous matters from the mayor or city council. Okay.
I do publicly want to announce, thank you very much for the flowers, mayor, city council, staff, that's very nice of you. It's beautiful, I don't know if you've got to see it, but it's huge. Hope I can keep it alive. But thank you.
Okay, we do not have any appointments tonight. We have the city manager's report.
I'll keep it brief. Just a reminder, we only have one council meeting in December. And then also, so you have on your calendars, we will have the annual holiday employee luncheon on the 17th, which is a Monday. We'll send you out some additional information, but I know the employees always appreciate council coming to that. And we'll do some recognitions for anniversaries of employees at that.
You say you did over again?
I think it's going to be here, but I'm not sure. I didn't talk to
time you
Joe
said it
as
was?
well.
It'll be the 17th. It usually starts at 11.
11:30
to
till 1.
So if you want to put that on your calendar and block that time off.
Yeah, at least let's say the date.
17th from 11 to 1. And I don't have anything else.
Director of Finance.
During our audit, our auditors made us aware of GASB. This is a sort of a reform to their reporting model. And I don't know if you guys know what GASB is. That's a governmental accounting board. They kind of set the rules for financials, how you present your financials. Well, anyway, they are making a change to their model to make cities report their financials more like a for-profit business. And this is a big issue because myself and other financial professionals don't believe that a city should report as a for-profit business. So they have a meeting that will be scheduled. That is scheduled right now for March 5th of 2019 in Chicago, and the city will need to express its concerns with the board, and it would be nice to send somebody to Chicago to speak on behalf of the city and if that would be Harold or me or a council member, we would need some representation there. I think it would be good for us to have representation there. And, to let them know if we will participate, the deadline is, February 15th to the 19th. So I just wanted to see how the council felt about, sending someone to Chicago to speak on behalf of the city.
It sounds to me like it's gonna be that if we were to have to force into changing our accounting system into what they're wanting, it seems to be a significant financial impact on what it's gonna cost to make those changes. And I think, maybe at the Herald's discretion as to who he wants to send to that council. I think it's a good idea to send someone.
So other friends like yourself, you're in the business you're in, have you talked with some of them and said, let's get together, let's go, whatever?
Yes, there's a few people already from the state of Missouri that are going. Our auditors are going. There'll be an auditor session, and then there'll be a municipality session. And so our auditors are already going and they're speaking, and they push for us to send someone as well.
So who gets the final answer of yes, it's gonna be that way or no?
The board will make that.
Gas people were decide that policy change.
They're being pushed really hard by the banking industry to make this change. And so.
Would it do any good to get our state legislators
It wouldn't hurt.
on board with this?
Yes, I definitely think that would be a good look. Yes.
Okay. I think we need to at least provide a letter to the state legislators from the council stating our concerns with the Gavin's proposal.
I think that would be a good idea.
And then send somebody to come to support that.
We're talking about who, I would have thought that probably Matthew or Harold would have the best, insight. This is a really deep topic, lots of details.
I definitely don't need to go.
If you guys want rock, paper, scissors at one point, or make a more educated decision.
We'll figure that out, but we'll give you an update later. It won't be till March, so we'll have some time to get on that.
Yeah, we have a February 15th, so answer.
Sounds good. Okay, Mark?
I have nothing additional.
Our street crew shut down for us with their snow here over the past few days here. And everything operated well. We had no problems. We did have a little couple of trucks that we found some deficiencies on that need to be repaired. Our signal project's going very well, but with anything you're retrofitting, you find some issues that involve on there. We found some of the metal conduit runs up in the bottom of the pole bases and corroded to the point of not being usable. So you'll see on these pole bases where they're running a 2-inch conduit up on it from the ground on the outside of the base itself. That's the reason that's being installed that way. It is visible. Normally that is a portion of the signal that you don't see. With that, we've also encountered, ODOT had done quite a bit of wire splicing, wire that was within the conduit, which doesn't allow for free passage of new wire to be put into it, so it's going to be some additional cost to replace wire that was not programmed in the project. So, but anyway, I wanted to make the council aware that there will be some change orders that were due to unforeseen practices that we found when we started the project.
Good job getting the roads cleared. That was really good. I didn't know if you guys would be ready that early.
We had the trucks ready the 1st of November, so we were well prepared and fortunate. I had enough people in town that wasn't out on the deer hunting holiday.
Yeah.
Because it happens on holiday, we get to pay holiday pay for it to happen too.
days. Okay, so the decorating of the tree in front of the courthouse is November 28th, 3:30? It's 3 o'clock. Okay, 3 o'clock. And that's really exciting. And then that Friday night is the holiday parade. I'd like to acknowledge Slim and his crew and the police and fire department. They've all been working behind the scenes with the committee to make sure we have a real successful event to kick off the holiday season, and also kicks off Dickens Christmas, which is held the next day, December 1st, from 10 to 4. Different locations throughout downtown. Will be busy with different artisans and activities. So busy weekend in Warrensburg next weekend.
I heard you're really looking for an in with the car club for the parade.
Really?
Hey.
That's actually what I heard. Do you have any strings, Bob?
Yeah.
Everyone is welcome for the parade. We're really excited.
Yeah, I think probably expect about 15 to 18 cars, so. Yeah.
And different community organizations are going to participate as well. And we've got Santa coming, and we've got a Santa house, and letters to Santa can be dropped off, and then they'll be returned. So yeah, we're really excited about it.
If you need to pull any of those cars for special use,
You mean it won't run?
I can guarantee you one will run. I can't guarantee the rest of them. But we, you know, I mean, if you have something special that you'd
Okay.
like for some of them to do, that would be easy to do, so just let us know.
That's great. We have a meeting tomorrow afternoon, so we can look
I might like to add to that, we look for a tree besides the normal ugly tree cedar that we encountered and had printed. The school district has one that sits on our lot across the street here. It's a real nice blue spruce tree that they donated to the cause this year.
Good.
And Public Works staff will be coming down next Monday and attempting to set it. So if you see a large tree moving up the street, you know it's taking place.
Also, in addition, the Tiny Tim Soup Competition, the city was asked to participate in that on Saturday from 11 to 3 of Dickens. So we're looking for our city staff to volunteer to provide soup, but also provide volunteer to be, we'll open up the main lobby there of the city so people will come in and see the mural, and we'll have the soups entries from the city. There'll be a police, a fire, and some city hall ones probably, but we'll be looking to participate that way too in the city.
Is it December 1?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, December 1. Yeah. And then the municipal building will be open as well. So we'll have artisans in here. And
Looking like they're in a soup in the competition, let us know, and they can be here at City Hall. We just need to know in advance if we're providing soup and what kind, so it can be provided back to the organizers.
How much do you need?
I was told about 10 gallons.
gallons.
Your soup's really good, you'll need 10 gallons. Otherwise, we just need 2 gallons of each soup.
We'll do a hard pot or something.
Every day.
Last week, we had the Department of Natural Resources out at the playground, and they did the final inspection, so we are good to go. I don't know if you've been out there. Jeff and his crew did an awesome job finishing up the final touches on it. We want to thank Slim because he helped us out with allowing us to borrow some of their machinery for painting the parking lot. And we've got a lot more handicap accessible spots out there, so it looks really awesome. We're working on a ribbon cutting, and as soon as that date has been finalized, I'll let you guys know. We're looking forward to getting that officially open.
We held our first of scheduled 4 food drives, very successful, and when we were delivering some items, we also ran across the need at the Survival House. They had a couple emergencies, clients come up, and we put together real quick Band-Aid for them to get some food to them and some clothing and all. They're real appreciative. They're having a particularly bad time this time of year right now, so they're looking for lots of help. Other than that, we're going to parade and decorate and do everything else. What?
Bell ringing.
Oh, bell ringing.
Oh,
Well, no. This year, we're gonna be doing a big bell ringing in against the PD. This time, we hope to have if there's somebody going in and taking us away from our door. We'll be there again.
See, and that's what happens when people aren't used to losing all the time, like the fire department is. We will be winning again this year. So December 8th from 2 to 6, if y'all want to come out, we will have get out of jail free cards again. So that's, if you donate, that's what you get. And we've got some other things for the extras for play cards. So, you know, they're not free. No. But yeah, we're taking on the fire department again. So 2 to 6.
I believe it's the other way around. Who's pushing you up to it?
Is that what it was? Yeah. Chief Kushner has his social media person taking on mine, and we clearly know who the winner is in that department. So we will have officers out at Dickens, so come on by and get a picture taken with a Dickens era officer with the big top hat and all that fun stuff. So it'll be kind of fun. We were one of the winners in the K-9 Aftermath grant. We won $500. We didn't win the top prize, but you know, 500 is better than nothing. So we'll have to decide if we're going to bank that toward Gunner's new brother or sister, or if we're going to just use that for something for Gunner. So we've got a coffee with a cop coming December 10th out of tradition. So if you're out that way on the 10th, come on by and say hello. And we'll probably see Mr. Lund's dad out there. So I think he and Woody are out there every day anyway. So we'll catch them before golfing and say hello to them. So that is all I have.
I want to say that it is Monday, and this is the official week that I cannot like Rich for an entire week, because Michigan and Ohio State will be playing this Saturday together. I will be there at the stadium, but if I don't like Rich for this week, you'll understand why.
I hope you're wearing your blue shirt.
You know what? This is the only blue shirt I'll wear this week. You should see all the Ohio State garbage is rolling Saturday night.
I'll loan you some OU stuff.
Yeah.
What's the date on the next one?
December.
Robin, anything?
No, but are you going to say that, I guess, the partnership thing? JCEC?
Oh, yeah, JCDC, it's the 28th. Thursday, it's on Thursday. So, we're invited. You all plan to go, everybody?
I think I hit the yes button.
Okay.
I don't know if you've got mine.
I'll say yes.
Casey?
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
And Harold? Usually always go. Okay, I'll let them know, just, as I let them know. Okay.
December 8th.
No, it's the 29th. 29th, it's on Thursday.
No,
Okay. All right. Thank you for coming. Have a good Thanksgiving this morning. I am so sorry. We're a host.
Yeah, man.
We need to make sure that
Oh, where's that going?
Oh, okay. That's what I thought.